Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another video. And I would just like to say, first of all, happy Juneteenth. And I think that it was great that this was passed and it was voted on by nearly everybody except for 14 Republican lawmakers, which, like I've said before, this is why I don't really tend to choose sides, just because I think that the incentive structure in politics is all skewed towards doing things that don't necessarily align with your values or always make sense. It's more so just like, hey, how do I get these votes? But anyways, for those of you guys out there that don't know, Juneteenth is basically celebrating the Union General that rode down to Texas 2 years after slavery had ended with the Emancipation Proclamation. It freed the slaves, and then there was a battery of things that happened afterwards. We're still moving forward in this country. But anyways, that said, there are a couple themes that I've seen as far as what people do that keep themselves poor, and I wanted to go over those today with you guys. So today we're going to go over, well, what do I got here? I got 16 things that keep people poor. So first thing I want to do is talk about probabilities. So imagine you've got a 50% chance of, let's just say, being a boy and being a girl, right? So if you look at the Mendelian genetics, that is true. You got 50% chance of being a boy and being a girl. And let's say there is some other thing that you have a 50% chance of. So how that works, basically, that means that you've got a 25% chance of having two characteristics, okay? So basically what I'm trying to say with that is that all of these things that I'm about to mention, if you don't have any of these characteristics, it's much more likely that you will be a rich person. If you have a lot of these characteristics, it's much more likely that you won't be a rich person. So when you look at the distribution of wealth in the world and the country, and you see that very few people actually have a lot of the wealth, a lot of it has to do with those types of statistics, that a lot of those people don't do any of these things that I'm about to mention. And let's say that, I don't know, 60% of people gamble, and then, I don't know, 75% of people drink, and 20% of people drink heavily. When you start to condense down those statistics, things start to make a little bit more sense. But anyways, the first thing we're going to go into was just mentioned, and that is gambling. So the first thing I wanted to show you guys is how slot machines actually work. And I recommend you guys go look at this entire video, particularly this section right here, how slots actually work. So I'm going to play this section right here, how slots actually work. And then I will play for you guys also why, no, I'm not going to play that one. I'll play flexible RTP. So then we'll talk about that when I come back from showing you these two clips in the video.
We should add that even some reputable game providers create their slots in multiple versions with different return to player ratios. Casinos are then able to choose the version of the game that suits them the most, and the RTP can drop to very low levels, sometimes even below 85%, which is on par with some land-based casinos. While the randomness is still fair in these games, slots with such low RTPs give the casino a much higher advantage over players. Take a strip of random black and white dots. Convert the black dots to ones and the white dots to zeros. Let's take 64 black and white dots as our input. This creates a random binary number, which we will convert to the decimal system for the purposes of our example slot machine. Note, however, that real slots usually work directly with binary numbers. A 64-digit binary random number converts to a decimal number of up to 20 digits long. However, as our game has only 1,000 possible outcomes, 3 digits in the decimal system are sufficient to account for all of them. Therefore, we only need the last 3 digits of the generated number. This random number, and more specifically its last 3 digits, is the only thing influencing the result of each individual spin, with the game mathematics then using the random number to calculate where each reel should stop. For example, if the generated random number ends in 471, Reel 1 will stop at the 4th position, Reel 2 at the 7th position, and Reel 3 at the 1st position. The example slot has 10 symbols on each reel on purpose, so that only 3 digits are needed to determine the result. Pause the video now to take a closer look at the underlying game mathematics. As you can see, random numbers ending in 471 do not result in a win. In fact, only random numbers ending in 375 lead to a win, because of the specifics of this made-up slot machine. Because of how the game mathematics work, Whenever the RNG returns a number ending in these specific digits, the player wins $1,000. Any other number results in a loss. In reality, slot machines are more complicated, with a large number of various symbols on each reel and special features such as free spins or other kinds of bonus rounds. But this doesn't change the fact that the generated random number is the only thing influencing the results.
So essentially, casinos influence the behavior of the machines, or they don't influence the behavior of the machines. The machines have a certain behavior that guarantees them profit. So if you're going into that situation and thinking that you are the lucky one, that basically is just an indicator to me that you don't know how wealth is built. You think that it's built overnight. You think that it's built through luck. And when you see wealthy people, kind of like this guy right here, you know, you see the big gold chains, you see all this jewelry, and the guy looks flashy. That's what people think of, like poor people think of as a wealthy person. The person with the Bentley, the person with the big gold chain with the dollar sign on it. So anyways, next thing is credit card debt. So credit card debt specifically, not necessarily having credit cards, because I have a lot of credit cards, but I don't have any credit card debt. But I do have a lot of sign-up bonuses, free cash, free miles, things like that. Anyways, moving on from that, I mean, credit card debt, you can get up to like 24 and 29%, end up buying something for $1,000 and you end up paying an extra $290 on it just because you had that credit card debt. And that stuff is really hard to get to go away because you're just paying more and more into it. And if it's growing faster than you're actually making more money, you're basically in debt for the rest of your life. So number 4 is having no savings. So obviously, if you're not making very much money, that is going to cause you to have no savings. But it's also a mindset thing where people don't prioritize saving, right? People are willing to pay, you know, the store, they're willing to pay their rent, they're willing to pay all these other things, but they don't ever pay into their savings. Number 6, this one is kind of a cultural thing that applies to certain cultures more than others, and that is giving money that you cannot afford to give. Okay, so whether that be to your church, whether that be to your family in different countries, whether that be to your family in this country, giving money that you cannot afford to give for the sake of being virtuous, it can hold people back. It holds certain people back so that they can never actually rise above and truly help their family. So once you develop like a passive income stream, you have some ownership, then you can truly help your family. So I've seen that hold people back often. Number 7 is buying things that look rich. So once again, like this guy right here, buying the gold chains, trying to look fancy, having the earrings, having, you know, all the nicest stuff, having a really good car, but you know, you couldn't actually afford it. So you just have a bunch of debt and you're spending all day at work just to pay off that debt. I actually listened to a interesting quote recently that said, there are 3 types of people. There are the haves, the have-nots, and the people who have not paid for what they have. So this guy right here, we could assume he's rich if we just saw it and we're coming from an ignorant perspective, or this guy could be in massive amounts of debt. You can't tell just by looking at somebody what type of wealth they have. So that's number 7. Number 8 is having poor mindsets around you. So it's very easy to make bad decisions when you have bad decision makers around you. All right, you're just kind of going with the crowd. We're herd animals, and we just tend to do that. So if we've got bad decision makers around us, it's very easy to make those bad decisions, whether that be, I don't know, drinking heavily, spending a lot on vacations that we can't afford. All of those things just become very normalized when you're in that environment. And I've kind of noticed that out here. No knock on, you know, people who are out here in the military, but there's some circles out here that it's like, I just can't hang out with you guys because when I'm hanging out with these circles, I start making bad decisions. So I just kind of got to separate, go off to myself. There's a couple people out here who I talk to, but there's other people who it's just like, no, we just can't hang out because I can't make those types of decisions. Number 9, playing the victim / not self-reliant / dependent on the government for empowerment and retirement. So you really only see this in poor circles, that people think that they genuinely think that the next president is going to help them financially. The next president is going to make their life better. The next president is going to pay for their retirement. The next president is going to take care of them. Okay, they think that the welfare system is what is going to lift them out of poverty. When on the contrary, that is exactly what is going to keep people in poverty, right? The only thing that can get ourselves out of poverty, when you think about the way that money works by being transacted when you do something of value for somebody else. The only person who can get you out of poverty, by that definition, is yourself. So the president can get in the way to a lesser or greater extent, but that is pretty much about all the president can do for you. Okay, number 10, watching a lot of TV, playing a lot of video games, basically living in a fantasy world. So, and that ties into the next one, which is escapism. So, escapism, TV, news, things like that. What are you trying to escape from? So, a lot of people that are much more well-off, self-made, I should say, they don't do a lot of this escapism. They don't do a lot of this getting LeBron James's stats down to the very last free throw, okay, because they actually have things to deal with in their regular life that they choose to deal with, and they choose to improve their life every single day. So that was 10 and 11. Escapism instead of solving problems is 11. Number 12 is not reading or consuming educational content. So I've talked about this on the channel before, but it's called the E to E ratio. So the E to E ratio basically is the education to entertainment ratio. So if you have much more education than entertainment, it creates a certain type of person. If you have much more entertainment than education, it creates a certain type of person, right? Kind of creates this stupefied, dumb person who only understands, and I'm going back to it, like sports stats, or they only understand what happened on the news, or they only understand who got shot in Houston or who got shot in Austin or whatever. That's all they understand. They don't understand how to improve their own life. They don't understand how to be successful. They just understand whatever's being put in front of them. And when you look at the actual rich people in this world, they're trying to be the person who's on the other side. They're trying to be in the TV, not looking at the TV. So that is that. Number 13, they don't know any life hacks. So this goes back into the E to E ratio. I actually just saw a really good video. I definitely recommend you guys checking this out. And it's from my buddy Todd Baldwin. He talked about basically how to get your dream car for free. And to sum that up for you guys, you go out, you get a car that's over 6,000 pounds, you rent it out on Turo, get the people that are renting out your car to pay down the entire principal balance. If your credit is good, you'll have 0% interest on all of those payments. So you basically get that car for free. You can write off 100% of the value against your business income. So you'll save, I think it was, he went with an $84,000 vehicle. So if you were paying 39% in taxes, you'll save that much on your taxes in your business. There's just little life hacks that you will never get to if you're just watching people get shot in a mass shooting in Austin. You know, not that that's a terrible thing to know what's going on in the world, but you'll never get those life hacks if you don't try to educate yourself. So number 14, living above your means. So kind of like this guy. Imagine this guy is, I don't know, making 50, 60 grand a year, and he's buying all this gold, buying it on credit cards, living above your means, trying to impress people. Goes back to that last thing that we talked about with being in certain circles. All right, if all your circle has the new J's, now you got the new J's. Doesn't matter if you can afford the new J's, now you got the new J's. Okay, payday loans. So these can be ridiculous, like 200, 300, 400% a year, right? Imagine buying, I don't know, a new speaker system for $1,000 and you end up paying $4,000 for it over the course of a year. That's obviously not building your wealth. That's building somebody else's wealth. Let me know if you guys want me to do an entire dedicated video on payday loans, because it's actually a very interesting and nuanced field. Because think about it, most businesses are valued on their cash flows, and most businesses charge interest rates that are, or in other words, most businesses have to compete with each other on price. So even though payday loans have really high interest rates, they're actually competing with other payday lenders on price. So it's interesting to see like the default rates and how low they can actually charge based on how many people actually pay them back, because typically the people that go and get payday loans are poorer people who don't pay them back, so they charge high interest. Anyways, let me know if you guys want to see that. And the last one is number 16, trying to aim for initial profit rather than long-term gain. So that's in your job, and that's also in like your investments. So I have people message me all the time saying, hey Casey, should I buy Doge? Or, hey, Casey, should I buy this crypto, that crypto, XRP? And I'm like, you know, or they'll say like, hey, should I get this job because it pays like $2 more an hour? But it's like, what's the long game? Okay, why aren't you buying something like an Apple, a Microsoft, or something that is going to be here 5, 10, 20 years from now, right? Why aren't we thinking about that? Or why aren't we taking a job that's going to say, hey, maybe I take a little bit less money now, but I have a track that can get me up to the top of this company, right? Why aren't we thinking like that? So anyways, hopefully you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you guys do want to support the channel, help me out. I've got some links down in the description that can get you some free money, free stocks, free interest on savings accounts. There's a lot of free stuff down there. So if you want to check that out, free books down there, or rather book recommendations down there, check that stuff out. It helps me out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.